What's going on, homies? You're listening to NPK Live, the Hydroponics Podcast. You're listening to NPK Live. To all the listeners around the world, you're listening to NPK Live.
Dave says, afternoon, boss. Oh, got that everyone watching, the whole family.
Hope it's in their lunch break.
Yeah.
Oh, Ian's watching. That guy from Barnsley. I can't remember his surname. Oh, Collins, that's it.
Yeah.
Ian Collins.
Doesn't he make some sort of filter?
Yeah, he does, yeah, apparently. Yeah,
Not quite as good as Rhino, but...
No. Different colours.
Yeah, different colours, yeah.
Different colours.
And hasn't got the lovely red animal on it anymore.
No,
So it just takes away from it all.
He puts a thumbprint on every single one, though, so it's nice.
Yeah, does the job.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be screaming at the screen.
It's the time I can get Ian Collins back for all the other stuff he's done.
Don't worry, Ian. There's only 75,000 subscribers. So nothing to worry about. Dan said, what lunch break? Dave's multitasking. Good stuff. Right, let's get rid of that. And I can see everyone's comments. Good stuff. You need a cap. Cliff said you need a cap.
Cap.
Yeah. I think somebody made a comment saying the light's reflecting from your forehead.
It probably is, actually, yeah.
You look angelic.
Do I?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, I better remind my girlfriend of that.
We are going to get going, right? As you can see, there's no paper here today, and I've written no notes, and that's a big compliment to you, Jason, because if you have been listening to the podcast for many, many years, if you're a faithful listener, you remember podcast 8 or 9 was Autopot podcast, and still, I was saying before, one of my favourite podcasts because Mr. Radio Voice here is smooth, silky. You just need some milk tray now.
I do, yeah. I need Thomas as a footrest to put my feet on as well, 'cause I can't quite put my feet on the ground.
Okay, this is podcast 130, and the title, working title, we're going to call this, the title is CBD Hempire. A government conspiracy, question mark?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So the point of this podcast is, Jason commented last week saying that he needs our help, and in a nutshell, he needs our help because there's 5 people, and Jason will correct me if I say anything wrong, there's 5 people that have licences in the UK to grow cannabis.
Yeah, 5 companies, yeah.
One is GW Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. One is Hempire.
Yeah.
Or up until the 15th of September.
Yeah.
It got suspended. It's been temporarily suspended.
Oh, hello.
What's going on here?
That's all right. You've been...
This looks like a corporate takeover.
Thomas, you can come in here.
Is this a corporate... Have I been taken over?
You can come in here, Thomas.
I've just arrived on
I
time.
need
I'm
somewhere
in
to
your
put my
seat.
feet.
Oh my God,
I
you've
got myself
taken over.
comfy.
You literally have, haven't you?
Corporate, hey, what's the screen? Look at that screen now.
That looks really good, that though.
That's
doesn't it?
raf.
How are we?
I'm very good.
Good to see you. Not bad at all, yeah. Well, this sounds like a really right old riveting podcast, so I will leave you to it.
Okay.
For now.
Actually, the space in here, I like having my own mic. So until we get the 3rd mic back, then
Okay. Well, I'll leave you to
I'm
it.
going to kick it out.
Okay. Have fun. Be easy on them, please, Jason.
I will do.
Because I'm not there.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
You were
look
great
after-
last week by yourself, by the way.
I've got a face for age.
Can you all hear us out there? No, they've turned us off. They've muted us. We're obviously that interesting. So back to podcast. So there was 5 companies.
There's 5 companies. The one's GW Pharmaceuticals, who have just, I think, teamed up with, is it something sugar, what they're called? UK Sugar?
Yeah.
So they're
British Sugar, yeah.
British Sugar. So they're doing a lot of work over in the Norfolk area. They've spent just over $100 million on work within the marijuana industry, and they've got Sativex and various other things. Then there's Hempire, who've had a license for the last 3 to 4 years, and it's been temporarily suspended by the Home Office on the 15th of September. And then there's 3 universities. I think Nottingham University is one of them. I don't know who the other 2 are, and that's it.
Yeah.
So at the moment, obviously, the guys at Hempire, Paul and Carl, are frantically trying to get their licence reinstated. Hence why I wanted to come on the show and try and give them a bit of support from around the world. Sensible support.
Yeah.
Not, silly comments. These guys are doing it for the right reason, for the medical benefits. They've spent a fortune. They've got premises ready to rock and roll. They've done all the due diligence. And I don't think it's fair that they should have their licence without any rhyme or reason from the Home Office to have it suspended.
Yeah.
They've complied with everything that they need to comply with. They're connected with CCTV cameras to the Home Office. Everything's documented. Everything's accounted for. In a nutshell, without really trying to get too political about it, it's really probably the government maybe doesn't really know what it wants to do, but in the same breath, under the table, knows exactly what it's doing, and probably wants the larger companies to deal with it so they can police them, they can control it, they can regulate it all. But that doesn't stop the artesian sort of companies like Hempire creating a product. And hence why I've come on, just to give them a bit of support and then hopefully drive the people that listen to your podcast just to say hi on their Facebook page, support them so they can get a bit of traffic. They can show this to the Home Office. They've got support from around the world, from some good people, some people who are prominent in this industry worldwide, really.
What's the Facebook page that they have to go to?
Their Facebook page, I'm not sure actually. I suppose it's CBD Hempire. Carl, if you're listening, just put it up. But I presume it's CBD Hempire on Facebook, and their website is www.cbdhempire.co.uk.
Yeah.
But I think they just want to drive some traffic to the Facebook page, really, and just so everyone's aware of what they've got and what they haven't got, who they are, where they want to go, and I think they've been doing good work over the last 3 or 4 years, and it was just research and development work with a view to obviously getting a license, export, and a trading license to be able to sell CBD products to people who are benefiting from them, and it's without beating about the bush. It's evident in this day and age that CBD and also THC products for medical purposes are beneficial. That's not cut to the chase.
No, there's about to be a huge amount of research put into it.
Yeah, there has been a load of research put in. GW have put a lot in. A lot of other people have put millions of pounds worth in. And the fact of the matter is, it's in a state of prohibition, so to speak, over here in the UK. It'll change. It will change. But I think the important thing is that you want to give the normal people a go at being successful in business. It's not all about the bigger companies becoming bigger and monopolising it. And they were the companies years ago that were probably, it was all taboo. We're not going to have anything to do with that. We're not going to have anything to do with that.
Effectively, you were against it.
Hey, totally. And now money gets involved. And then people get a little bit sort of aware of, we can make some money out of this. Well, it's not bad anymore. We can make money out of it, so therefore it must be good.
Well, let's find the research that says it's good, because we managed the research that said it was bad and was conducted very poorly. That used to support our arguments, and now there's money involved. Oh, look, we've just suddenly found this research that says it's really good. So this is the research that we're promoting now. It's terrible. I want to say, for the people that do listen for the first few minutes, that we obviously we got a lot of emails, people saying, can we buy products off your website? Can we do this? Can we do that? And when I literally tell you all, no, don't worry about it. We love doing this podcast, and I call it jabbing. So we're jabbing, giving you all lots of hopefully good information that you can benefit from. Now we're going to give you the right hook, and we're asking you to do something which is a good worthy cause. From last week, I've looked at the website, done a little bit of research myself, and essentially 5 companies. One of them is GW Pharmaceuticals. I'm not going to get into whether they're good or bad, but it's a big company. It's a pharmaceutical company. 3 are universities, which are research, which are good, but they don't need our support. They're just doing what they do. And the last person is CBD Hempire. They are the people. They are not multi-million, multi-billion pound companies with lots of backing and lots of government handshakes and whatever. The people that need our support, and I believe that everyone listens to the podcast as something aligned with CBD Hempire, in that you have the people, you do what you do because you love it, and they need our support now. So you just get over to their Facebook page. If in Facebook you type in CBD Hempire, it will come up there. And then the website you mentioned before, didn't you? The website to go and visit. I mentioned it.
Yeah, CB. Where's it gone? It's www.cbdhempire.co.uk. So if everyone can just go over there and just say something nice on there, a bit of support. If there's any lawyers who want to offer free support to Carl and Paul, then please, go for broke, because these guys need a little bit of help. They are adamant that they will get their licence back, and quite rightly so. And all they want to do is sit around the table with the people at the Home Office, try and understand why it's been temporarily suspended, and discuss it.
And are the Home Office sending lots of letters to explain why they've suspended
They're
it?
ignoring everything.
Right.
They have shut up shop.
So the government must have vacated premises, mustn't they?
They must have done, yeah. Apparently they were all at the conference last week.
All right. Something to do with making money and taxes.
For sure.
Yeah. Carl has left the website there, www.cbdhempire.co.uk. If you're watching live, feel free to abandon the podcast and just go and have a quick check it out, or right click it, open your tab, and you'll know to check it out later. I wouldn't support something just for the sake of it. I honestly truly believe that these guys need help, and in a year's time, or in 2 years' time, or in 3 years' time, if you're thinking that you might be sat on your chair in your living room complaining to the world about why these big corporations have taken over, just have a little think back to 3 years ago when people were asking for your help. Don't just sit and think that, oh, everyone else will do that, I don't need to do it. Just, you are the one person that can make a change and can make something positive happen in the UK. So I am asking all of you to go and visit cbdhempire.co.uk, go and visit the Facebook site, and go and show them the support from
around the world,
NPK
really.
Podcast, from around the world.
Yeah. I mean, you look at America, you look at Canada, you look at Israel, you look at on the 1st of January in Denmark. It's all changing. It's all changing. So, yeah, there's a little bit of stigma to it still here in the UK, but that's changing fast. And Carl and Paul have taken the bull by the horns 3 years ago, gone for broke, and then just been left in a little bit of limbo at the moment. So just a little bit of support and a little bit of common sense, I think, from the Home Office, to be able to sit down and have a rational conversation and discuss things moving forward. So they can, they put a lot of money into it, and quite rightly so, they should be allowed to continue.
And a lot of our subscribers are from the US, and I know that your situation's changing rapidly, and obviously we do this, we've 40% of our subscribers are from the US, and we carry on doing it because we want to give the best information possible, and we do love doing it. And we never ask for anything in return because we don't want anything in return. But it'd be lovely. I know the guys in the US might think, oh, that's the UK, it doesn't affect us. But imagine what the situation was in the US 5-10 years ago, and what people did to help your situation improve, so that people in the US and certain states could get the medicine. I'd really appreciate it if you could help us out. And it means that me and Thomas can carry on doing our podcast.
Exactly.
It means because it literally hinges on this one thing.
Well, Thomas is. I think he's finished now, isn't he?
Yeah, unless
it's just me and you now.
Yeah, that's it.
Is, yeah.
So you're all right to get the car up every week?
I'm fine, as long as I can have the 4-wheel drive out the back as well. That come with it, a company car.
Payment.
Yeah, cool, great,
Exactly.
lovely, sorted.
I'd also like to take this opportunity as well. I tend not to watch the news, but I know that a lot of our subscribers in the US are from New York. I'd just like to let you know that if you've been affected by what happened in New York, in Manhattan, I'm thinking of you. We're all thinking of you, and you've got our support, and we love you all, and just keep rocking on and doing what you do. So we're thinking of you, and stay strong. Now it would be a miss. Obviously, we'll probably keep popping back to CBD Hempire to talk about the situation on what crops up as we talk, but it'd be a miss to have you in the booth and not talk about Autopots.
True.
It's been many years since we managed to talk exclusively about Autopots, and you are one of the YouTube show's main partners.
Yeah.
You are up on the back screen, and I'd like to take this opportunity as well, one, to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
My pleasure.
And the other thing is for you to reinforce what we say, in that we didn't just send out an email to everybody in the industry and just took whoever came. We targeted specific people that we use and we truly believe in. And it's not so much you're sponsoring us or you're a partner on the show, so we say good things. It was, we were going to say good things anyway. And it was just really nice of you. That's why I say thank you very much, because we were going to say good things anyway about Autopot. Just lovely to have support of a manufacturer for us to move forward in the media and help with the education of growers. So thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. I'm glad you like it.
How's your project going? It's not so much a project now, it's more of an annual. It's a massive event now. It's the biggest thing in the industry. Everyone looks forward to. It's the Autopot Festival. How did you get on last year? Were you happy? Because I remember 2 years ago it was very stressful for you. Jason was a stressed out person 2 years ago.
Well, we had Dan and Dave in hospital.
Yeah.
Well, Dave was actually working for Dutch Pro then, but they were all in hospital anyway. So yeah, me and Ben were running around, and Dan Dazzini trying to keep things running smoothly. It went okay. Had a little bit of theft there.
It looked like a swan. You were paddling furiously underwater, and I could see them paddles, but the show went off without a hitch.
It was 2 years ago it was good, and that was sort of the catalyst of where it went to this year. This year was better, not quite as I intended it to be. I won't mention Slim's name. I won't mention Slim's name. I love you, Slim. But I want to get it back next year to a proper show, where it's educational, where it's information, where it's beneficial for the people who come from all over the world now. And yeah, I want music to be played, and I want people to have a good time. But I want to make sure that we up the ante next year. We've had the meeting last week, myself, Dan, and Ben. We're happy to do it again next year. And I just want to say one thing as well, because there's been a few comments in the industry that's got back to me where, it's not the same anymore. They're all making loads of money. It's all about money. Let me just clarify something to everybody. This year was the only year that we've made any money. And I'll tell you exactly how much me and Ben made. We made £35,000 each after everything. So that doesn't take out all the staff working from January. Doesn't take out any of that. So in essence, we probably broke even. It's not about the money, because I don't really need to do it. It's just that we've got the facility to be able to do it. Ben grows beautiful plants, and it's the only show that's in the UK at the moment. And people directed us in that way because they didn't want to do the indoor things at Coventry or in London anymore, because it was too expensive. The health and safety issues were too much. The people didn't go because they're a little bit scared or apprehensive. And they wanted a bit more of a festival feel. So I went, bugger it, we'll do that. And it is hard work. People don't realise, it's not about the money at all. We might make a little bit more next year. So obviously we want to make as much as we possibly can, because the 6 years previous to that, we haven't made any money. We've lost money, hand over fist, year on year. And this year was the only year that we made a bit of money. And if you look at it, by the time we paid all our exes, all our staff, leading from January up to the show, probably haven't made any money. But as long as I break even and don't lose money, I don't mind. But for next year, we want to do it. It'll probably be bigger and probably a bit more. Well, it will be more organised. The security will be tighter, because that's one thing that niggles me most of all. Is you invite people into your house and they steal, and that really annoys me, especially when they're grown adults. It's okay. You can understand it was a festival like Boardmasters or something like that, where you've got a lot of kids running around all over the place, and there's not a great deal of control. But these are grown business people turning up to an event and stealing from people who've worked hard. And it really, really annoyed me. And that's one thing that I'm adamant that's not going to happen next year. We haven't got, we don't know who stole, the stuff this year. And we'll probably never find out.
Do you know what was more upsetting for me? And me and Thomas mentioned it on the podcast the next week, as we did. We chatted about what had gone on in the summer. Obviously, the Autopot Festival was probably one of the biggest events of the summer in the industry. The thing that hurt me the most is that, like you said, this wasn't a public event. This is a private, and we get loads of grief. When we promote the thing, we get loads of messages off our listeners, off customers. Can we come? I'm like, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna have a great time, but it's private. It's an industry festival. Yeah. So we get loads of grief that it's not public, but it's not public for a reason. Yeah.
And if we can't control the people who are in business from not stealing, then we're going to struggle with hunters coming in.
So the people I've stolen are 100% have a shop in the UK
Maybe,
and
we don't know.
and it was either a shop or one of their people that they brought, a very close staff or team. There was no public there, was there?
No. I mean, there was friends of mine, there was friends of friends there, and people from shops brought close friends there. But the only way to do it is police it better, and we'll police it better next year. We won't wait for the unexpected to happen. We'll hopefully anticipate that, and it won't happen. We'll make people fully aware that, if we do catch you, we will give you to the police, because I don't want people like that. You can just bugger off and go and sit in the cells, and then when you come out, everyone in the hydro industry can stone you.
Yeah, that's what I'd be more worried about.
Exactly.
You don't want to do that. But so you've been getting comments about, because I didn't know this, you've been getting comments about people saying it's now just a profit.
Yeah. And I think it's people, there's a couple of little things that have, you get to hear stuff in the industry.
No one ever says this stuff to your face, though.
No,
funny.
No, they never say it to your face.
It's always behind a keyboard on social media.
Of course it is,
or whispers to other people.
People are always big behind keyboards these days. And you found out, and they're tiny. But it's a little bit sad. It might be a little bit of jealousy because we're doing something. I don't really know. But the fact of the matter is, we've ended up not lumbered, but we've ended up involved in doing a show. There was no intentions of ever doing a show, because when we very first started doing the Autopot open days, they were just open days, a couple of sandwiches, a couple of beers, invite the distributors down, then it was the shops, and then it ended up to what it is now. Yeah,
it was the open day that we did the podcast, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And that's the way it's become. It's not something that we've tried to drive and go, right, okay, we need to make a big Boardmasters thing here or a big Glastonbury here. It's just, Ben's got a big field, 5 acres, and we've got the ability to be able to put a decent show and festival and business event on there. And that's what it is. It's a business event, and that's what I want to keep it as, a business event. Yeah. Obviously entertainment there. We didn't have the kids there this year, and I'm sort of in two minds, because the kids, it was nice having the kids there, but then obviously you've got to keep an eye on the kids. You've got the health and safety issues these days, which are obviously paramount, and, they just take over everything these days. So I don't know with regards to the kids, but I'd rather probably just try and keep it from, business people from all around the world who are involved in horticulture. And that's what I'd like to try and do, and try and keep it as upbeat as possible.
How many years has it been a proper, not the open days, how many years has it been a festival or something that you've literally put a lot of plan, a lot of time into? Was this some of the third year?
This was the third year, yeah. I think the fourth year was getting to a point where we had a bit of, marquees and stuff like that. But yeah, this is the third proper year where we've had the TPs from Qatar, and
I wonder if anyone could ever tell me how Glastonbury looked in its third year, or Boardmasters looked in its third year. Did anyone ever turn around to the big festivals and say, "Oh, you're making too much money. Why don't you just do it for the music?" There's a big reason, and I wouldn't. People that listen, that we just don't have any random Tom, Dick and Harry on the show. That Jason does it because he loves the industry and because he wants to put on a good show, and he was pretty much asked to do it because there was nothing in the UK for us. So I can also go out on a limb and say the profits made are probably going to be a portion going to be reinvested to making the next year better. Well, yeah, and then the profits from that year will be reinvested
for sure.
And in 10 years' time, the festival from last year will be looking like a Mickey Mouse show compared to in 10 years' time.
Exactly. You look at, horticulture, it never stops. Things always change. Ben's got to change the floor in the greenhouse. You've got to change the roof in the greenhouse. That doesn't come free. Yeah. You've got to keep the plants looking good. The skin on Ben's greenhouse, it's only supposed to be there for 5 years. It's been there for 10. So, to change the skin on the greenhouse, it's $8,000. So, things have got to be paid for that people want to see something nice and presentable for the following year. So you've got to keep up with the changes. Yeah. And, it's not about money. Ben wants to make some money because obviously you've got Ben and Tim propagating thousands of plants starting in December while everyone's celebrating Christmas, while they're sitting there potting all their seeds up, getting everything ready for the festival and keeping or looking after all those plants from when they're germinated in the propagation room, then bringing them into the main greenhouse and then laying them all out. Try laying out 2,000 plants with all different substrates, with all different feeds from all the suppliers who generously giving Ben the stuff so he can do what he's doing. doesn't, and looking after 3 children, and looking after Plantasia. So people who make these little sort of comments in the industry, and I know who you are. It's the same old people. Yeah, it's not necessary because, okay, tell everybody, get everybody together, say we don't want you to do it anymore. We won't do it anymore. You go and do it then.
No, don't say that because Thomas will come and find you and kill you. He loves the Autopot show. I wouldn't advise that. No, it's the. I'll say something similar. People see an end product, and either jealousy is a horrible thing. But people see an end product and then love to make comments on an end product. People don't see the 6 months, years, 5 years, 10 years worth of work that goes into the end product. The photo that ends up on Instagram, the post that ends up on Facebook, the multiple shops or whatever that took 5, 10, 15, 20 years. The big companies that have been built up, going back to last week, all companies that have sold to Hawthorne Group, they've all been going well over 10 plus years. They've all grafted hard. They've all put the work in. And for people to hate on them because they've then sold it's just jealousy. Disgusting. And jealousy. It's jealousy. And jealousy, just we were saying earlier, it does nothing.
These guys, you look at the owner of GHE, you look at the owners of Gavita, you look at them, they've all worked their nuts off for many, many, many years. Probably a lot of them from a shoestring originally. And to put those hours and effort in and build a company up and get it to the point where unknowingly someone wants to buy you. And in the same breath, it's flattering. If someone offers you $100 million, and Jesus Christ, I started my company for 48 quid 15 years ago, you'd be a fool not to take it. I know Thomas would never take it because he's got everything he needs in his life. But, I'm 50 next year. I'd hate to say this, everybody, but I am 50 next year. And I'm no spring chicken anymore. Even
You're looking good.
Oh, thank you very much. Apart from my head's a bit shiny, apparently, according to the staff at the office. But, people should always, sensible business people should always have an end game, should always have an idea, maybe if they're enjoying it and they're making good money, then you crack on and carry on. If you want to stay in if you want to be... what's the word?
Influential?
Yeah, influential. Or you want, at the end of the day, you've put a lot of hard work into what you've created. The guys at Gavita, look at Jair, the amount of hours he's thrown in, travelling around the US. And he's profited from it, and quite rightly so. They've worked hard, they've built up a brand, and it's a very good brand, and they've been very successful. And all of them should be patted on the back as far as I can say. So all those people who, make the nasty comments and the spiteful comments, they're sold out to the devil, Well, they haven't sold out to the devil. They've just sold out to a bigger company that's in the horticultural industry. They might be involved in various other aspects that people don't approve. But at the end of the day, business is business. And like I said earlier, if Gavita went pop a year before the Hawthorne Group was going to buy them out, do you think the industry would have clubbed together on a continual basis, year on year, to make sure the guys at Gavita could live the life that they'd created until that year it went pop?
100% no.
I don't think so. So, the fact of the matter is, business is business. People make a decision, and if they've worked hard and they've created a brand, then why not?
Yeah. And something I'll say from last week, because this is live. We don't edit the podcast, and this is just me and Thomas talking. I still stand by everything we talked about. It was opinions. Some of them were opinions to create discussion, so not necessarily what we truly believe. But the one thing you'll notice that on last week's podcast on the Facebook page, Theo, I asked for critical analysis of the show, and Theo he listened to the podcast and gave his thoughts and opinions. And the one thing that I will say is that we used the word sold out in the wrong way. What we were saying is they have sold to Hawthorne, because Theo, I love Theo to bits. He's actually got the definition of sell out, and it basically means abandoning a cause, a belief in the pursuit of money, and that's absolutely not what we were saying. And I hope it came across at the end that we are fully behind Gavita, Botanica, CANNA, behind the owners, behind GH, behind the owners that have worked for years, because that's a common theme. Every single one of them has worked hard for many, many years to get to that point. And if I saw any of them, they came to the shop or a sales show, I'd give them a big pat on the back and a massive handshake for proving to people what hard work does.
No, and
because
it should
be
rewarded.
Hard work.
No, it should be rewarded. At the end of the day, people will always be jealous and people will always make negative comments. And it's out of jealousy, and it's out of the inability to be able to create their own business and make it successful themselves. And hopefully someone buy them out and provide for their children and because, like I said, no one's going to help them. They disappear into the mire.
Yeah. And I am still on my high horse, by the way, from last week. I'm going to say it again because I love saying it. It's that this social media trend recently of giving anybody shit, not just about these companies that have been bought. It's about giving anybody shit for making one decision or another. If you're in an industry or an area and you're giving another person shit in that industry or area, just stop, have a little think and look at yourself and think the hours that I've spent on social media commenting about somebody else's business that I disagree with, or they've done this bad to me, the hours that you've spent, what could you have achieved with those hours that you spent on social media by concentrating on your own business, on whatever it is you're doing? And now look, if you are one of those people, and I doubt it because all of our listeners are legends, but if you are one of those people, you know one of those people, say to them, have a think, what did all that time spent on social media slating other people, what did you achieve because of it?
Nothing. Just negativity.
Did they get more money? Did you promote your company any better?
Wasted time.
Absolutely wasted time. That's why I've made the mistake of
I must admit, I do like throwing the occasional social hand grenade into something and just disappearing.
I used to, sorry for jumping off on a mad one, but I used to work, I did my time when I was younger in pubs. I did from 18, 19, 20, I worked pubs, and there was I loved it a bit, but there's one guy who came in, and I'll never forget him, and he brought his wife in once over all these years, and she caused murder. And then the next day he came in, and I'll never forget it, he went, I'm never bringing that fucking social hand grenade out again. I just pissed myself, and you just reminded me of that now. The social
hand grenade. I just like throwing them. My girlfriend says to me, that's all you do. You just throw one in and then disappear. Yeah. And just watch the mire.
It is fun to do that sometimes, isn't it?
It is.
So, yeah, the show. So for anyone, I don't think anyone in the industry really does know about the show now, but if you weren't, it's been getting better and better each year. The Autopot show in the summer. Is it going to be the same? Do you have decided on the dates yet? It's going to be roughly the same time.
I think we have decided on the dates, but I can't remember when they are.
I actually moved to holiday.
Have you?
Please don't do that to me again.
I think it's the same weekend that it was this year. I mean, if Dan or Dave's listening, they can quickly pop it up there and let me know, because I haven't got a clue. You know what I'm like. I go into meetings and don't listen to anything.
Especially if Dan's talking. Bloody hell.
So Dan, you can just pop up the dates on there for us, and then we can let everybody know when the dates are for the festival next year. That'd be great.
Yeah, I don't want to be moving holidays again. I also want to talk a little bit about Autopot. Literally 2 or 3 minutes. I want to get Jason's top tips, because I think I see sometimes as well about people slating Autopots online, saying that it does this and does that. I mean, one response to that is...
They're not getting that mixed up with another product, right?
Oh, no. We'll come to that. Okay. I'll let you have the airtime on that one. Okay. No, this is them using Autopots and talking about Autopots, but judging something by incorrect use. Now, my one response to that is go on to... it's called the Chili Lab on Facebook. Look at all the videos. Every single one of them grown on Autopots. Yeah, and the guy, Dean, who runs that, says he gets out of over 1,000 Autopots. He probably gets 1 or 2 blockages.
I think he's got 2,000 plants at the moment.
And he said to me he's had 4 or 5, he gets 3 or 4 blockages
because he's using, Dean's trialling lots of different nutrients. So, he's trying nutrients that aren't clean. Obviously, we've got the new valve that's just come out that's got a 3 mil hole in it, so you've got a better aperture and a larger hole for the water to squirt through, potential less blockages. But if you start using organics in Autopot, no commercial grower in the world growing tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers uses liquid organic fertilisers in any pipelines for that reason, because they just separate. So there is no way that you'll find any commercial growers using drippers with organics, because it's just not the done thing. Same with Autopot. You will get blockages because Autopot, the water stays in that line and sits there until that valve opens. So no matter what you do in your tank, it's not going to make a difference, because the water's sitting there stable in that pipework until that valve opens, and then it squirts in. But If you imagine it separates, and you're just going to get a sediment at the bottom of the pipework, and gradually over time, it's just going to build up and build up and build up. So organics is a no-no.
Yeah.
To that.
And the thing I wanted to hit home is there's 2,000 valves, 2,000 Autopots, and Dean reckons if he's away for a while, he might get a few blockages, which is out of 2,000, you're going to get it.
And you know, Dean, let's bear in mind, Dean's got a full-time job.
Oh yeah,
you know, Dean's. I think he's got over 2,000 plants in, you know, either the One Pot XL, the One Pot, or the Easy to Grow. And he travels all around the country, and intermittently, as much as he possibly can, he pots into this greenhouse and looks after pretty much by himself 2,000 plants. So it's all about cleanliness. It's all about, you know, making, you know, crop management. Well, if you're not there for 90% of the time, you've got to deal with that 10% of the time to deal with the crop management and make sure 2,000 plants by yourself is it's not easy. So yeah, having a couple of valves blocked here and there. I mean, you know, he's testing some of the CANNA organics, and they've been actually surprisingly running through the system fine. It's all getting very smelly.
Is this with the new pipe?
Yeah, with the new valve. With the new valve, yeah. And but we'd still recommend not to use them because, you know, organics, once you put them in the tank, you should really use them with a short period of time. And he's got them organic sitting in this tank for weeks on end, or you know, days on end. You lift the tank lid up and it just, you know, it's humming. But you know, it's all about clean. It's all about crop management. You know, if people don't manage their crops correctly, doesn't matter whether it's with Autopot or any other system, then you're fighting a losing battle straight away. You know. It's not rocket science to use Autopot. It's not rocket science to grow a plant. You know, you can grow a plant very successfully with a tray and a watering can. It's just about making the right environment for it and, you know, in principle, knowing what the plant needs. Don't overdo it. Don't give it too much. Don't, you know, think that everything on the shelf will make that plant be as, you know, productive as possible, because it's not the case.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of new people that are new to Autopots as well, listen, a lot of us are men, and I need to say, obviously, women use the product as well. But a lot of people in the growers and listening, I can see the demographics are men, and we tend not to read instructions. So, and one of the key points is that when you put your new plant into the media, into an Autopot, and people just whack the tap on and then just leave it, that's the incorrect way to do it. So you really should water them through the top first.
You should, but you also, I mean, you know. It's funny because, you know, I've been into horticulture since 1992, and in the early days I grew certain types of plants, and now I grow
pretty much everything.
In horticulture, it's all about potting up into the next in soils, in substrates. It's about potting up into the next size pot. So classic one was CellMax the other day. We were doing a little trial, and they put these tiny little plants with a light above it in a 15-litre pot. Well, you're going to dry out, because of the light, you're going to lose the humidity straight away. So what you should really do is basically bring a plant on and move it up into a suitable pot size before you, or, you know, rock wall sized, an established plant with a good root system, before you put it in a 15-litre pot, a 25-litre pot, whether it's Autopot or another pot. Because it just makes a weak plant. You want something where the roots are going to express themselves and have a good root. So you don't want a tiny little plant in a huge mass of soil where it's just drowned out. But once, you know, if you do that and put a suitable size plant, you know, if you're going to put something in a 15-litre pot, I'd put something in there that's probably, you know, 8 to 10 inches tall, and has got a nice leaf mass on it, nice root mass on it. Put it in there, and when you put it in, you're going to put it a little bit further down into the pot because of the size of the root mass there. Water it through once to run off, and then just let the plant establish for anywhere up to sort of 10 days. And what I always tell people is, if you've got an amount of plants and you get a little bit panicky and you think, oh God, I need to turn the system off, just look at the largest plant in your greenhouse and go to pick up that plant. If that plant's still heavy, then all the others will, because that largest plant will be drinking the most amount of nutrients and water. If there's still some weight in that, hold off the water. If you feel a little bit apprehensive, you can always turn the tap on, let it inject in there for, you know, 15 minutes, because it'll fill up all those trays. Turn it off and leave it off for another couple of days. In commercial horticulture, whether it's Autopot, rock wall, whatever they're growing, it's a common fact that commercial growers will starve their plants in the early parts of their life, and not starve them to the point where they're almost dying, starve them to a point, or hold water back to the point where the roots have to go searching for it. And there's a classic example where I did trials years ago at Valley Grown Nurseries down in Nasing, where they've just increased the site. I think it's to 50 acres now, but it was 10 acres. And traditionally they're rock wall drip, so they would bring their 250,000 pepper plants, so these are capsicum pepper plants, all different colours, and they would bring them in, and they'd pre-soak the slabs. And the way that they did it, they'd have all the drippers in the slabs 2 weeks prior to the plants arriving, and they would pre-soak the slabs with drippers for 2 weeks. Not 48 hours say in the hydro industry, where you stick it in there at 5.4, 4.5, leave it for 2 days, which is still, acceptable because you've only got a small amount. You can't do this for for 250,000 pepper plants. So they drip very low pH water with a little bit of feed in there for 2 weeks. And then the plants come in from Holland. Then they put them in there, put the drippers on top, and off they go. So they and what they've done, they've already but as they're feeding those plants, those small plants that they brought in the 3-inch rock wool cubes from Holland, they are holding back on the water. They've got water probes in there, sensors, and see when the slab's drying out, and then they'll hit it with another bit of water. But they will deliberately hold back on the water to make that plant and root system express itself and go searching for water. Another thing that they do, which the hydro industry will find, and whenever I tell anybody, they'll find it very strange. Valley Grown Nurseries in the UK, we're in the Northern Hemisphere. They originally used to pot up or put their plants out in sort of December time. And when they did it, they would, once they've stabilised everything, put the plants in, they would hit the EC up to 3.5.
For which crop?
For peppers.
Yeah.
For 3.5. The reason being is because you've got no light in the sky. Bearing in mind this is an environmentally controlled greenhouse.
Yeah.
So the humidity in the greenhouse is bang on. The temperature is bang on, 24 hours a day, over 10 acres at the time when they were doing peppers. Now they're doing tomatoes as well. So what they would do, they would feed those plants at 3.5 EC or CF, whichever way you want to look. I don't know what the ppm for the American guys is, but it's high.
Yeah.
The reason they do that, there's no light in the sky, very low light levels. So what they do, they feed as high as they can because those pepper plants are going to stay in that position for 11 months.
Yeah.
So they build the root system up. For the period of time when you get to March and the weather starts getting a bit warmer, then they bring it down to about 2. They tailor it down little bit by little bit down to maybe 2.2, 2.4, and they feed it like that for the rest of the season. So unlike here in the hydro industry, where they start off at maybe 1.2, 1.0, 1.4 and very small plants, because they've got big blaring lights, they have to do that.
Yeah.
But the other way around in commercial horticulture, they will fire it, but that's only in this hemisphere. If you go to Dubai, for example, it's completely different. You go to Barbados, it's completely different because of the light levels. And obviously, if you and I were in Alaska, we want to eat a nice steak all the time. But if you and I are in Dubai, we want to drink a glass of water all the time.
Yeah.
So that's what people just try and remember, when they're growing outdoors. Because if they're growing outdoors in their greenhouses, you're growing tomatoes and cucumbers outdoor in your greenhouse in the UK or anywhere in the world in the summer, and it gets really hot, you want to drop that food down because the plants just can't handle it. You want to bring it down because they want to transpire. They don't want to eat.
Yeah.
They want to, basically allow themselves to breathe properly and drink water. And, that's, one of the things.
It's one of my favourite top tips, that, to be honest, Jason, because it's like when we talk about stories and we try and put it into a metaphor, it's like think of yourself around Christmas time, snuggled up in your jacket, and think of yourself on your summer holiday in Dubai or Spain or wherever. Have you ever had a roast dinner when you've been on holiday in 30, 40 degrees Celsius? No. It doesn't feel right, does it?
Have a salad.
Yeah, and water and beers and keep yourself hydrated. But in the winter, a roast dinner or a bowl of soup, or we have in Liverpool a bowl of scouse, it's just the best thing ever, isn't it? And it's the same for plants. When it's hot, you just need to hydrate and keep hydrated. When your conditions are right, you just want to eat. And it's a brilliant top tip because it's all about the steering wheels of plant growth. If your transpiration rate is high, temperatures are high, you need to drop EC because then your plants is going to take up a load of water and can therefore take up an amount of nutrients. If transpiration rates are low and your humidity is high and the temperatures are low, then the plant's not going to drink as much, so you need to have that EC up. So when it does drink it's getting that nutrients that needs.
And it can cleanse itself to some degree. Otherwise, you just get toxification, and the plant just keels over.
Yeah.
You can't feed something that doesn't want to be fed.
Yeah, exactly.
And because the light levels are so high, they just won't allow it to feed properly.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite top tips. It's something that I want to pick your brains on, and I'm conscious that I don't want to keep you too long because you're a busy person.
That's all right. I can stay here as long as I want.
Your love for GH, it spiked my interest because the GHA, the 3-part, you've really hit home about. I'm going to get this secret recipe off you now. I've got Jason into a trial now. He thinks I'm actually having a trial with him. I just want his recipe for GHA. What is it about GHA and the 3-part nutrient that you love so much?
Well, there's 2 reasons really. I mean, I used in my very, very early days in the sort of early 90s, when the hydro industry was, almost non-existent, and we were just a few, the Plantasia was around. I think there was SANlight Systems in Leicester. There's only a couple of guys around, and I obviously got into growing. And first of all, I used the Nutriculture powdered feed. You remember the powdered feed? Was it Power Grow? Was it?
It used to come with the NFT system.
Right.
Yeah,
great feed. There was nothing wrong with that feed. It was a really good feed. And then I came across GH, and it's the 3-part feed. It's a brown, a red, and a green. So the green is a grow. The red is a bloom, and the brown is the micro elements in there. The great thing about this nutrient, not only is it exceptionally clean, it's very, very well made. Apparently, it's chelated, one of the only few nutrients that's chelated. So you get very minimal calcium dropout.
Yeah.
You have the ability to be able to play around with the amounts of the red or the green or the brown that you put in your reservoir, depending on the stage that your plants are at. And I've just always, the reason I came back to it was Chelsea last year, because we got asked to do Chelsea, a few weeks before the event. So I had to frantically scramble around, try and come up with a concept, come up with the plants that we were going to grow, and then try and grow them in the substrates we're going to try and grow them in, because we were growing them in the grow stones, plant reeds, water, rice husk, just something out the box. And I'd never grown them in that, and I'd never grown the chickpeas, and I'd never grown lentils before. So I was like, right, I'm taking a big risk here. I've got 8 weeks to do it, but I've got the facility to be able to hopefully turn it around. First of all, started on the easy to grow feed, which is just a 1-part feed, basic feed that will grow all plants. It just didn't have enough there because I needed to make sure that it was all, it was all on point. So I quickly just dropped our easy to grow feed, which by all accounts, well, it's a good feed, but it's nothing compared to the GH feed. So I went back to the GH feed, spoke to the guys at GH, sent me some stuff up, and then I used, is it Z7 as well? Is it Z7 from the Flying Skull people?
Yeah, I've heard the Flying Skull.
I used that as well because I wanted to keep the water clean, because I was using very strange substrates. So I wanted to make sure that when anything in that water was eaten away by the natural bacteria or however it works. So I used that as well. But the GH, I could just manipulate it to the way that I wanted the plants to grow. And it just brought back all the happy memories that I had in the 90s of using this nutrient that had been, forgotten about for a long, long time. And I think it's probably overcomplicated for people, but I don't know why, because it's just 3 parts instead of 2 parts. And you have, like I said before, you have the ability to be able to just up the phosphorus, up the potassium when you need to, or get rid of it, or keep it there as a background and have more nitrogen in vegetative growth. So you just have that ability to be able to just use those 3 bottles from start to finish, know everything's as clean as a whistle, and you know that you're using good quality nutrients at the same time, and have the ability to be able to adapt it, as you go along. It comes with a little. I mean, GH give you a formula, a set formula, and then obviously, if you've got any mouse about you, you can go, right, okay, I'll drop that bit, or I'll add that bit, and just see what happens. Yeah. And it's different on all plants. You get a different reaction on different types of plants with different types of environments, because environment and temperatures, the environment's key. If you haven't got environment, it doesn't matter what nutrients or what system you use, you may as well pack up and go home. But yeah, it's simple. I'm a big believer. Well, I'm not a big believer. I just see these commercial companies that I deal with around the world, tomato and cucumber growers. They import from Yarra or whoever big sacks of fertilizers, the various elements that they then make their formulas up, and they keep these formulas close to their chest, and then they feed their pepper plants, tomato plants. None of them use boosters. None of them use additives. None of them use anything apart from a well-balanced NPK formula. That was a plug as well. So at the end of the day, growing, whatever you grow doesn't need to be overcomplicated. That's one thing that I find is a little bit sort of bemusing in the industry as it's got bigger and bigger, the hydro industry or the hydroponic horticultural industry or whatever you want to call it, is that it's become more and more complicated. And, the people who are coming into the industry aren't necessarily, well up on scientific techniques regards to growing. So the more complicated it gets, and also it's socially driven these days. People get great results with X, Y, and Z. Suddenly it's all over social media. Everyone jumps on it, and then people say, that's not working for me. Yeah. So it's all about keeping it simple. And I just find that product, the 3-part general hydroponic series, it's just, a decent... It's the nutrient that I'm going to be using constantly in the facility. I'm doing other tests for other companies. I'll do tests with CANNA and SANlight and Plagron and all the different companies. But from my point of view, from a grower who, has got a bit of experience over the years, it's one that I'm familiar with, and I know that it works well with Autopot, and it's just extremely clean. Yeah. I'll flush the lines once a week because it's always important to just flush the lines in any Autopot system just to remove anything that's in the water into a jug at the bottom, and very little comes out. The easy to grow feed that we have is a single part feed, which is just for any plants in any stage really. It's just an easy to use feed. Over a period of time, the crap that comes out from that, from any sort of trace organics that are in there, any kelp or anything, it's evident. And when you compare it to GH, it's a different beast altogether.
So you can follow the GH program and keep the 3-part as in inverted commas base nutrients. Yeah. And then if I wanted to veg boost again in inverted commas, I wanted to use a veg booster, you'd up the green.
I'd up the green, yeah.
And then you want a bit of a PK boost in the flowering stages.
I'd drop the green and up the red. Yeah.
And then if you're suffering with maybe a little bit of a deficiency through whatever environmental malpractice, you'd up the micro because the majority of micro.
Nothing's set in stone because everything's about environment. Ultimately, environment is key in anything that you grow. You cannot grow cucumbers in a humidity of 27%. You just can't do it. They won't perform, and they'll just keel over and die. So if as long as you can get your environment as constant and as accurate as possible, then you have the ability to be able to manipulate plants. And using this 3-part series, it gives you a good sort of basis on being able to do that.
Excellent. It's not something that it's not me personally, Thomas and some of the lads have used GH, but you've piqued my interest as well about the manipulation. It's piqued me. I mean, if you're into it and like that much into it, I've seen it come through on the videos, I'm thinking I'll give a little go and see what you can do with the 3 bottles. Yeah. So let's see what you can do.
Put and not use anything else.
Put up against Advance's 30 bottles. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's
one of them being just water.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Sorry to jump on that horse again. Before we finish, I think we've been doing a lot of industry news, and obviously that was some great top tips there, so I hope the growers were listening. But just to finish off on some industry news, we've got you in the building. 2 things. First of all, to go back to Hawthorn, we've actually covered that, haven't we? In that state, in once you've grafted hard, you'd sell. And for me and Thomas and for us, we still feel like we've got so much to offer the industry, and being relatively young, we feel like we can give a lot back. So I think that covers Thomas's answer of why at the moment he wouldn't sell, because we feel like we can give so much to the industry. But what about an industry that loves to copy and not innovate? How about that one? Well, sorry to put you in the corner there, but I thought while you're in me box,
there's a lot going on, isn't there? Really?
Why is everyone so intensely bothered about copying rather than innovating? I'm just going to close the screen because I want some comments to come up.
Well, if you're referring to the recent edition of the Go Grow, which I presume you are, then, well, let's put it this way, and I'll tell everybody this story, just so they know, even the directors of Hydro Garden, because I might as well, because I'm fed up of shutting up. 7-8 years ago, when did we take Hydro Garden? I think we took Hydro Garden as a distributor about 10 years ago, and they've been a very good distributor. I've known Stuart for a long, long time, Stuart Green. And about 7 years, or 3 years into the into doing business with Hydro Garden, there was a gentleman, a good friend of mine, just about to get on a plane to Spanibus, and Stuart Green got on there as well. And Stuart Green mentioned, I don't think Jason's got a patent on his aquavalve. So this came back to me. So from that moment on, I kept Hydro Garden under a little microscope without them knowing.
Yeah.
And so then what happened, a Chinese company tried to invert the aquavalve technology. Hydro Garden actually alerted me of it. So we got some samples over. We had a look. I presume Hydro Garden got some samples over as well. And we tested them. I tested them with Stuart from Garland. We threw them in the bin.
Yeah.
They were rubbish.
Yeah.
Then, about 2 years after that, I was in China, and a good friend of mine, he sent me over some drawings, and he was a guy who worked for the company that was designing a new valve. He'd had enough of the company he was working for in Hong Kong, and I knew him, and he sent me over all the drawings. So in essence, I had the drawings 6 years ago of the GoGrow.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fair enough. Sort of kept tabs on it. And then obviously this year they've launched it. Is it a valve that does what mine does? No. It's, in essence, if anyone knows anything about the way our technology works, it floods, it completely drains, and then it floods, and it is operated by the plant. Whereas the GoGrow valve is, in essence, just a glorified ball cock. Mm-hmm. It does allow water to drop to a certain amount, but then replenishes at a certain level. The amount of water that's held in that tray is vast when you're using a GoGrow, and it's not beneficial to plants. You will have to compensate by using very, very free-draining substrates to try. But at the end of the day, I cannot understand, even to this day, why they did it. It's either greed, or they thought they were clever, or, the fact of the matter that they didn't actually innovate anything themselves. They just copied what the Chinese had done, and they'll say, well, you copied off Jim Farr in Australia. Well, I had no choice because I was going to lose the company, and we made it better, and we've made a better company. I'd have quite happily, carried on doing business with them, but, they showed their cards. We've been watching them for a little while, and we got to the point where we weren't happy, where there was prices that weren't, that we were upsetting, other distributors were being upset because prices weren't as, clear and precise and accurate than what they're supposed to be. And it's sad, really, because I can't, a good friend of mine said to me, you don't have to like the people that you do business with. That's true, and Hydro Garden used to be a very good distributor. We haven't lost any business because we're not having Hydro Garden. Actually, the business has gone up, and News Culture are doing great growth technology. Highlight guys picked it up. And unfortunately, Hydro Garden have brought out a product that they haven't innovated, they haven't created themselves, and it isn't, in my mind, and I presume from everybody else's mind in the hydro industry, any competition whatsoever, because they're not selling it. They've obviously just made the addition to that lid. The reason they made the addition to the lid, not because people moved the product, because it was catching water from the lid, water collecting and dripping into there. The lid isn't going to change anything. The thing, the GoGrow valve, unfortunately, still allows huge amounts of water to enter into that tray, and it's not beneficial for plants. They're not. At the end of the day, Hydro Garden are very good at what they do, but I can't do business with people like that because what's the point? You find out. You get a very. I thought a very uncourteous letter from Stuart Green on the afternoon they launched the valve over here. Basically, quite condescending letter, which I was quite pissed off, to be honest with you, when I received the letter. Oh, Jason, I had no idea this was going on. In essence, I thought, you lying fucking bastard. Yeah. You knew exactly what was going on. I've had your drawings for 5 years, so please don't think I'm a fool, because I'm not. And to send me a letter to say that, I had no idea what's going on, we want to be the biggest, supplier of systems in the UK. And then as soon as I found out, we got people ringing up asking for Autopot, to find out that the staff at Hydro Garden are actually downselling our product, saying it blocks, it's, we've got a better system now. That's what was the point of me staying with that company? So there are, in essence, they've created a system. And, I wish them well with it. But at the end of the day, people aren't stupid. People know what works and what doesn't work. And, as the industry's become, more aggressive and people have become more understanding, have become brighter in the industry, and some bright sparks in the industry, people have realised what's rubbish and what's not rubbish. And, at the end of the day, we've managed to, keep Autopot going based on the way it works. Creating that valve doesn't mean I create that valve and then I forget about it. We spot check, we batch check, there's alterations that I make, and it's a constant battle to make sure that the accuracy and the quality is the best that we can possibly get it. And as the company Autopot gets bigger and bigger, the more that we have to do that, the more that we have to maintain the quality, the more they have to, because I'm working with fractions of millimetres. Oh, I've got one other thing, by the way. Hydrogarden said that our valve wasn't patented.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
I want to make a couple of points because it might seem as though I am biased because I like Autopots and I don't like GoGrow. Well, that dislike came from 3 floodings, which you can see on our YouTube channel first. That's how I did the flood, and I did a video to explain what was going on and what I was doing. So the first, and let me make it clear as well.
I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. It will grow a plant. It does work. It does work. But with efficiency and quality, you will not get the quality. But it does work in principle. I've been testing it since June, and it's just recently flooded the grow room. We caught it very early. The reason because it was collecting water in the top lid. But the plant quality is nowhere as good. But it does grow a plant. Yeah,
I know people that are using it that are all behind the GoGrow, and I know I won't name it, but I know that it's flooded them as well. But you won't hear of that because they need to be behind the product.
Well, that's that same person who we don't want to mention has wished that he hadn't gone over to the GoGrow as well.
I've heard that as well. Now, a couple of things is I want to make very, very clear. I have absolutely nothing against Hydrogarden. NPK has nothing. The podcast has nothing against Hydrogarden. If Hydrogarden tomorrow brought out a new product and it was innovative, I'll be right onto it because at the end of the day, I'm all about improving the industry and great products. That's what it's all about, 100%. The couple of things that got me, and the reason I've sort of reignited that a little bit, the first thing that got me, he said they sent you a letter treating you like a fool. They did the same to me, thinking that I didn't know about the whole Jim Australia situation. They thought I hadn't done my research.
That was childish.
And he sent an anonymous letter.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really, it didn't annoy me or anything, but I just thought, that's childish.
Well, they've done quite a few silly things over the last couple of months, but you think, be a bit more professional, guys.
Yeah. Well, that got me back up a little bit by basically thinking I'm a fool by not doing my research before I go and talk about something. Then the second thing you showed me before, which might not be about the test that we did, but we did a test and we moved the GoGrow because, believe it or not, people, when a system goes into a room or a greenhouse, it can sometimes need to be moved. Now, I moved Autopots quite vigorously, over the top, moved them just to make a point. It didn't flood. You'd literally have to turn it upside down for anything really bad to happen. Something like the multi-flow system, I've kicked that to bits. It doesn't flood. The GoGrow, and you can take it or leave. You can believe me or you can not believe me. At my core, I'm a researcher that wants to find out about the best and the worst products. I have got no thread, or I've got no allegiance to anybody. I've got an allegiance to myself to be true and my own integrity. So we moved about the GoGrow when we were putting some matting underneath it to make the tent look nice for customers. 3 hours later, the water slipped into the valve, pushed it down, and it flooded. Now, they've released something saying that they've now put a lid on top of the valve, saying that in commas, I don't even know who wrote this, and this is not word for word, this is just me ad-libbing. Basically, the system, as you should know, should not be moved. When systems are put in place, they should stay in place and shouldn't get knocks and bangs. I don't know any grow room that doesn't get knocks and bangs personally, and I don't want to sell a system to a customer with the hope and dream that they might not kick it or have to move it or knock it. So that's if anyone's wondering why I reignited that little thing, it's because I just spotted something that may or may not be aimed at me, but I did move the system because it's what you need to do when you're doing testing on a new system. Do everything to it. You find out if it's bomb-proof. Things like the Autopot in terms of flooding, bomb-proof. The multi-flow V3 system, V2 system, V1 system, bomb-proof. IWS is bomb-proof. There's systems that are making changes to make themselves bomb-proof. I just want to know on what scale you're up. How far away are you from being bomb-proof? Because I want to sell bomb-proof systems.
Course,
it doesn't come back to you.
No.
So that's, if anyone's wondering, that's me reason for just reigniting that again. I thought it may as well while you're in the building as well. Let me get this. It's like this thing. This is Raf's because I forgot to charge the iPad. This is like bigger than my television at home. Raf, what have you got going on? Dan said that the event, the Autopot event, is the August 18th and 19th. Be there or be square. Adam, yes, Adam. Calm is a wonderful thing. Cliff said nothing positive comes out of negativity. Very, very true. Andy Varley said, I like Jason's voice. I do too, Andy. Perhaps he could work on radio too if it all goes tits up on his day job. I think that's easy.
I'll sell out to Hawthorne first, then I can do it.
Eric said, oh, go on then, he'll do another show. Steve Webb, Plant Magic, Old Plant Magic said, hello guys. What else have we got? Adam said mine was outside and did very well. 4 pots, 200 plus tomatoes, and weight was 90 to 20 grams per tomato. Nice, big tomatoes. The kids used them, all fleecing up. Nice. And then Dan said, here we go. So let me just refresh that to get any last comments that came in the last bit there. Oh, here we go. There's a few came in there. Yeah, Dan said, here we go. Just probably as we were talking about the subjects.
Yeah, no, they're all probably cringing. Stuff I have to get it off my chest. I'm fed up with not saying anything for such a long time so everyone can listen instead of writing a letter to someone.
One of the things I like about this podcast is that I'm on it. I like openness. I think that there's no place for... I just want great products. I don't know how many times I have to say it. And I just want openness and people to innovate and let's not bitch about other people's. Let's just concentrate on making ourselves better. If we did that, lots of innovation is going to happen. Don't copy. Don't think copying's bad. If you make a copy that's just as good, or maybe not quite as good, but cheaper and highly accessible to some people that can't afford it. Let's say a double-ended light fixture. Not maybe quite as good as a Gavita or a Revolution or a Solistec or a Dimlux, but makes it more accessible to people so they can try out a double-ended. I like that. As long as you say, listen, our light's not as good as the top boys, but it allows you to have a little go. I'm all for that. Carl says, Autopot's value is by far the best design on the market. Also, its build quality is second to none. Yeah, I agree with that. Adam's saying, loving it, just tell them straight. And then last one there saying, you can spend hundreds, but knowledge is key. I think that last comment there by Adam, perfect way to round up the podcast. And I'm in love with that screen, by the way. Raf and Coates. That screen is just... Have you seen the screen, Thomas? Why? Right. First of all, Raf's doing backflips. Thomas thought it would be a good idea to try and speak to me in a soundproof booth. I'm really trying my hardest to lip read there.
He's just dying to get back in again, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Once he's going to jump back in right now.
Basically, what's
hello.
Basically, the RAM stuff and the CPU stuff for the computers is not good because Raf's having a panic attack.
Oh, right.
And we're running at 99%.
Oh, shit. So if you do any more...
I don't know if you do anything, Raf's going to explode and I think his computer is as well.
Sounds good job I ordered more RAM.
Because he's got it on 1080 or something.
Yeah. Well, it went well today. The screen looks lovely.
It looks really good.
Audio sounds good. I've had no complaints. No. And it's the beginning of good things for the podcast because we're taking up a level.
Hopefully if we make it to the end and it doesn't crash, we'll actually have this podcast saved. On that note, I'll see you in a minute.
Okay, on that fucking bombshell, we will see you all next week, and I think me and Thomas, we were going to do it this week, but Jason's jumped in. Obviously, we've got to give way to Jason, industry legend. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
No, thank you very much for having me on.
And it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Cheers, bud.
Everyone listening, I hope you're all having a good Sunday for listening on Sunday when it gets released. And we'll see you all next week.
Remember, www.autopot.co.uk, www.autopot-usa.com for all those people in New York.
Oh, very nice. Well, you know what? There's another hour or 2 hours worth of talking about global Autopot. And I think we could do that at the either at the show
or at the office.
Or at the office,
Yeah, we could do it in the grow room.
Global Autopot. It's an hour podcast just in itself.
Yeah.
Talking about the guys in the US, you'll want to pay attention because it's all about you.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Excellent.
Take care. Speak you all soon. I love you loads.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye-bye.